time I got reincarnated as a slime. Chapter 3. A Disturbing Presence. I had a rather unexpected boost to my military, and really, having more friends was something to celebrate. I decided to promptly meet with Diablo to discuss how to put these demons to work, and I'd have Testarossa and the other top demons join us as representatives to get their feedback. Out loud, I laid out the 3 jobs. So there are 3 posts I'd like to assign as soon as possible. I need a diplomatic attaché to make decisions abroad on my behalf, a chief prosecutor to investigate the evils unfolding within Tempest, and a chief judiciary official to provide fair and balanced judgment over disputes. I just happen to have you 3 here, so what do you think about taking those jobs? I kept my tone casual, knowing full well just how insane this was. None of these jobs were particularly easy, and my cabinet may object to these appointments anyway, although it'd be Diablo's job to shut them up. Besides, these posts emphasized fairness. I didn't want people trying to curry favor with them, so I thought naming people as close to me as possible was the best bet. If any of them tried anything rebellious or illegal as part of their posts, I could just call upon Diablo to purge them. It made things easier for me, in a way. Testarossa accepted first. I would be honored to serve as a diplomatic officer. Ultima brightened right away. Wow, evil's even bigger than me? That sounds exciting. Carrera promised. My judgments are always fair. I will do everything I can to live up to your expectations. Whoa, they accepted them without even listening to the job descriptions. I checked with them again. Are you sure? I think they're pretty tough jobs. Testarossa answered. I am eager to begin, my lord. Ultima chimed in. Yeah, I'm good at investigations and stuff. Carrera added with total seriousness. I will provide equal measures of death to all. I don't think that's how the jobs work exactly. Now I was even more nervous. I glanced at Diablo. He had a smug smile, telling me all I needed to know about his thoughts. Here was a man thinking, thank God I palmed this trouble off on someone else. Yeah, he'd never agree to being a diplomat. I focused on Testarossa first. Listen to me. Being a diplomatic attaché means speaking for me as a member of the Council of the West. Once we deploy our military across the West, you'll also be responsible for commanding them all. It's an important job, you understand. Testarossa answered, yes, I do understand. Testarossa softly smiled at me.
Diablo vouched for her. Testa is a wise woman, you know. I guarantee you that she'll never do anything to harm your position.
No, Diablo, you just don't want to do the job, do you? Diablo's guarantees weren't worth much in my mind, but maybe Testarossa did have a lot of wisdom. I kept pressing the practical point. Well, with the laws we're writing for our nation as well, she'll need to understand and explain them to other nations. Testarossa reassured me. Do not fear, Sir Rimuru. I have memorized them all. Testarossa then began reciting the in-progress version of the laws of Tempest, stuff we were still trial and erroring our way through. She even pointed out some of the flaws in the current version. That settled it for me. Okay, you're hired. I got no complaints now, that's for sure. It's gonna be easy for you to lose your temper in the council, but remember, you have our nation's good name on your shoulders. Whatever you do, do not let anger get the best of you, okay? Testarossa gave the worst possible reassurance. I am ready to serve, Sir Rimuru, and should push come to shove, I will leave no evidence of my involvement. No, that's not the problem exactly, but there was no denying Testarossa's talent. Nobody else was as qualified, and given my antics at the earlier council meeting, I wasn't exactly a good role model. Let's see how this shakes out anyway. So I had now appointed Testarossa as my counselor, but the other 2 had their own talents. Ultima practically bounced forward. Okay, me next. Ultima immediately began rattling off the parts of the legal code we were in the midst of enacting. She was every bit Testarossa's match in intelligence. Carrera continued more formally. My lord, we are a race that respects our contracts. We are gifted in finding loopholes in regulations, and I guarantee we will never miss anything a common person could discover. We will also never be swayed by bribes. Anyone who wishes to subjugate us must do so by force, and only a small handful of demon lords stands a chance at that. She couldn't possibly lose to anyone, huh? The fact that she didn't say that outright indicated that some demon lords really were more powerful than her. I could name one off the top of my head easily, that redhead, but that's her problem, not mine. What mattered was that Carrera seemed dedicated to judging all criminals fairly. I made the final call. Okay, you're hired. I'll be expecting big things from all three of you. The three demon peers answered in unison. Yes, my lord. Thus, I had 3 demon peers assigned to 3 important posts. Luckily, it was a smart move on my part. Soon, Tempest would become a constitutional state like few others, its systems and procedures providing an example that spread across the land. These laws apply to me as well, by the way. I'll have to be careful not to get arrested for giving or taking bribes. So now we had a constitution, part of the elite club of nations that made one. It was still in the testing stages, but our government was divided into 3 sections and functioning. Ultima and Carrera were dedicated to their work, and I have to add, they had some talented people working under them as well. They organized their respective departments in the blink of an eye, exercising the full extent of their powers. Ultima had also taken a shine to Rogard, calling him Rogue and following all his instructions. Rogard even reciprocated, calling her Milady and treating her almost as nicely as his own daughter. Rogard, in fact, had no idea who Ultima really was. He was a bold, courageous man, but if he found out she was such a powerful demon, even he might start acting all sensitive around her. In consideration of that, I only told him that she was scouted by Diablo. It's her work that counts anyway, so I saw this as harmless. Carrera, our new Chief Justice, was also doing well. Rogard, our Attorney General, was back in our administrative office. Our Department of Justice was now its own organization, so it no longer be affiliated with that branch. That didn't mean it could do whatever it wanted, though. The administrative, legislative, and judiciary branches of the government all kept an eye on one another now. Rogard, in his role, was observing and supporting Carrera, my appointee. From what I heard, despite any eccentricities in her personal behavior, she was a talented worker. She'd never fall to bribery or violence, so I suppose Rogard accepted her. Good to see. There's no such thing as a perfect political system, so we just need to solve problems as they come up. Now we had to provide the council with draft copies of our relevant legal codes. I asked Testarossa, "So, Testarossa, are you all ready?" Testarossa answered, "Yes, Sir Rimuru. Moss has made all the necessary arrangements." Testarossa, that living beauty, was elegantly relaxing in front of me. She poured out some tea, offering it to me. It was good. Shuna's tea was always first class, and Shion's was up there as well, but Testarossa's was surprisingly delightful. The aroma had depth to it, the taste thick and rich. There was no bitterness, and even though I took it without sugar, there was a hint of refreshing sweetness to it. I admitted, "I did not know you brewed your own tea, Testa." Color me surprised. I felt Diablo's eyes open wide behind me. Testarossa gave Diablo a sweet, pointed smile. "Hee hee. Well, this is a special gift for you, Sir Rimuru. None for you, you understand."
Diablo answered without missing a beat. "That is fine. As long as you understand that my post is above yours, you may live your private life as you like."
Diablo prepared his own tea as he said this. I wasn't sure whether they were bitter rivals or just bickering friends. It didn't seem very strained between them, but I wouldn't call them good buddies either. Testarossa shifted into her report. "It's interesting though, isn't it? The way other nations are reacting to us. Some are trying to curry favor and some are trying to use us to their advantage. I'd say less than half are openly welcoming us. The majority are still rather suspicious." Such was Testarossa's sudden evaluation of the scene. It was almost like she was there to see it, which was odd. I asked, "Where'd you get that info from?" Testarossa answered, "Oh, my pardon, Sir Rimuru. I enlisted Moss to investigate for me, so I may better serve you." Moss again, huh? Pretty talented dude. One of the guys who evolved into a demon peer, stronger than Veyron and second in power only to the trio of ladies here. He was good at intelligence gathering, too. I checked the important part. How accurate was the info he got you? Was it acquired via magic, or did he ask around more directly? If it was trustworthy, then fine, but if not, it'd just get in the way. I decided to check with Testarossa. Testarossa explained, well, Moss has a special ability where he can deploy a large number of small, discrete replicants across a wide range. To Moss, collecting and analyzing information across the world all at once is like child's play. That's pretty amazing. I gave myself a mental pat on the back. He was a nice pickup. I said, sounds reassuring then. I'll introduce him to Soe sometime soon, and then maybe they can work together on intel. Together, I'm sure they can make up for each other's deficits, you know? That'd be good to see. Testarossa teased, my, all those complimentary words. I think I'm going to be jealous of Moss. Testarossa smiled. I started to rein the conversation back in. Enough joking. Now a figure I hadn't noticed before was standing behind Testarossa, breaking into a cold sweat. He didn't really stand out much, but this must be Moss. Veyron cut a very gentlemanly figure with his handlebar mustache, but Moss looked like the kind of cute-as-a-button kid you'd see anywhere. By appearances, he'd seem to be in the 5th or 6th grade, maybe. Strong would never be how you'd describe him. Was he really that much of a talent? I turned to the quiet figure behind Testarossa. Hey, about the information you picked up, can we trust it? I mean, we just got done kicking out a bunch of counselors plotting against us. I can accept it if people are wary, but are there still nations out there seeking to take advantage of us? Not to brag or anything, but I think our nation was kind of badass by this point. Trying to hoodwink a nation as badass as ours made me wonder about the mental skills of the leaders running them. Honestly, I'd be far more likely to believe Moss had it wrong here.
Diablo gave the order. Moss, can you explain the situation to Sir Rimuru?
Surprisingly, it was Diablo ordering Moss, not Testarossa. Moss answered nervously. Yes, sir. The region south of Tempest, focused on the Kingdom of Bloomond, is generally friendly to us. However, our intelligence does not extend far into the north, and with many of the nobles there, it is unclear just how much we know about them is true. As for the counselors pushed out recently, it seems that even if they told the truth to their benefactors, their stories were not widely believed. This is speculation based on rumors, so I cannot attest to its accuracy very much, but I can state that certain members of royalty from several nations are plotting against us. Moss's power involved being able to listen in on conversations, so it was up to him and us to judge how accurate those conversations are. It was still really helpful, though. I thought through the value of that, then said aloud, if we can pick up on suspicions before they spread, that can help us take countermeasures fast. Moss bowed. Yes, my lord. I turned back. Testarossa, can I leave this matter to you? Testarossa asked, as if it were the natural conclusion. Of course, Sir Rimuru. Are we in agreement that the relevant nations need to be thrown into ruin? No, we are not. I immediately corrected her. That's going too far. Just force their rulers to take responsibility for it. Testarossa accepted that. I understand, I added, and try to avoid bloodshed while you're at it, please? Testarossa smiled. As you wish. I will not do anything that gives Tempest a bad reputation, at least. Despite her flowery smile, Testarossa was really giving me the creeps. I worried a little over whether assigning her this was the right idea, but you need to test out these things. Still, if we acted too nice to our rivals, it could send our whole nation crashing down. Being seen as a pushover will just lead to more needless damage in the future. I set the final boundary. All right then, proceed so our nation retains its current dignity, but don't be afraid to show them the full brunt of Tempest gravitas. And so Testarossa was my new council representative. That took care of the biggest problems. Those had been giving me headaches for the past few months, but starting today my mind would be much more at ease. Huh? Was I retreating to the lab to do a lot of whiz-bang research? Well, you know, I need to at least look like I'm trying down there or I'll come off like a charlatan dropping in for fun. Being a grown-up is knowing how to balance social responsibilities like that. In a way, you want to avoid making a 100% effort in the workplace because then that'll be expected of you every time. A real performer knows how to execute a full effort they can provide on a regular basis. Work's supposed to be fun anyway. Of course, I can try to sound like I know it all here, but that's still just an ideal. And I guess that if I'm satisfied with myself right now and have an environment like that to work in, I must be truly happy. Anyway, today I decided to check out our new school building, which we recently completed construction on. The children I brought in from Anglacia will study here, together with our own. Like I said to Yuki, the best way to prepare children for adulthood is to get them interacting with one another. And in a school with nothing but monster children, I worried my kids would have trouble adjusting to human society later. With this school, there'd be no worries. We now had a lot of adventurers and other people coming here for work, many of whom brought their entire families, children included. In many low-income families, children were obliged to work as well, but I prohibited that by law. A child's job is to play and to examine and study whatever they were interested in. I wanted to have humans and monsters learning together in the same classrooms, and in the future I wanted to see this grow into races and species working together. That was the theory behind this setup. Plus, we didn't only have children learning in this school. Grown adults were mastering the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic here too. They were highly motivated given how these skills were rapidly becoming necessary in Tempestian life. Remaining illiterate would narrow their work options and potentially lead to errors that had caused trouble for their co-workers, and adults understood that, which is why so many were studying now. One common refrain you hear in the classroom is, "Am I ever gonna use this stuff in the future?" Not here though. The sight of grown-ups studying so hard actually seemed to inspire the children watching them. They didn't want to get left behind. Addition and subtraction were one thing, mind you, but literacy is another. Those classes were difficult even for me, and it seemed like Masayuki was in the same boat. We were fluent in conversation and could read just fine, but writing was a challenge. In my case, I could set Raphael to autopilot and cover for that, but without its aid, I wasn't sure I could pass even a basic literacy exam here. I had been shamelessly putting off addressing this. If I'm good now, why bother? But for this at least, I felt like I was cheating a little. My kids, of course, were doing great. I gave them some manga translated into this world's language to motivate them, and that wound up being a huge success. They were carrying it around with them all the time, and it was getting popular even with students outside the reading classes. Kenya and the others, being the first kids to possess this manga, were uber popular in class. Between those comics and his natural talent for winning fights, Kenya was already kind of the boss of the schoolyard. Alice scolded the boys. "Come on, boys, quit playing around and help me clean the classroom." Oops, now Alice was mad. She had comfortably settled into the class president role, I see. Kenya complained, "Huh? Why do we have to do that stuff?" Ryota warned him, "Whoa, Ken, you don't want to make Alice angry." Kenya fired back, "Aw, shut up, Ryota. Today I'm gonna whoop Alice and become the real boss around here." Eesh. What are you, children? Oh, I guess you are. Apparently, Alice was the true boss of this clique. Maybe that was why Kenya kept flaring up at her. I suppose it's like a love-struck boy wheedling a girl in order to get her attention. It usually has little effect, or typically the opposite effect. You need to be nice to the people you're trying to court, and if Kenya doesn't get that yet, he has a lot to learn. All he's doing right now, at least, is pissing her off. Alice warned him, "I told you, you know. I told you I'll show you just how scary I can be." Alice, for her part, was acting less than her supposedly mature self. But she's only 11, of course, and I wouldn't expect anything else from a 6th grader. Plus, everyone was already used to her act. One of the watching children whispered, "Hey, who do you think will win this time?" Another student answered, "Oh, it's gotta be the Empress." A third agreed, "Yeah, she's the youngest and the strongest out of us all. Kenya's pretty good too, but he's a bad matchup against the Empress." Gail teased from the side, "Like he's in love with her. No way he could ever beat her. Pretty cruel." "Hey," Kenya snapped at him. "Hey, Gail, quit saying all that crap over there." Alice laughed it off. "Yeah, no way Kenya has a thing for me. Are you crazy or what?" Gail had no qualms about revealing Kenya's secret. But despite Kenya's objections, Alice just laughed the whole thing off. Maybe they were still a little too young for love. Or maybe they were just fine, actually. The children, monster and human alike, all looked on with big smiles. They must have understood there was no bad blood involved. Gail, being the oldest, kind of took a leadership role with the others anyway, so I assumed he'd put a stop to matters before they developed into problems. I stepped into the room and raised my voice. "Okay, kids, that's enough. No horseplay in the classroom, all right?" Chloe cried out, "Mr. Tempest." Chloe all but tackled me from the side as I entered. I never saw it coming. She must have improved her skills as of late. In fact, she must have noticed my presence long before I came in. Alice protested as she rushed in too. "Mr. Tempest? No fair, Chloe." Alice was almost as quick to respond, hugging me with just as much force as Chloe. Good. They're still at that cute stage. Then someone else dogpiled on me from the rear. Kumara leaped in from behind me. "It's great to see you again, Mr. Tempest." A charming little girl with a bowl cut leaped in front of me. She wore an elegant kimono and seemed about as young as Alice. But what really made her unique were her fox ears. I don't remember meeting a girl like this before, but I feel like I ought to know her. Could it be? I asked the little fox-eared girl. "Are you Kumara?" Kumara answered brightly. "That's right." "Oh, right. Kumara was an upper-level monster who evolved after I named her, and I guess transforming into a human was among her new skills. I'm pretty sure I granted custody of her to Hinata, alongside Kenya and the rest. They were attending school regularly now that the building was completed, but I figured Kumara was manning the labyrinth or something in the meantime. In fact, she joined the others at school, and it looked like she had friends as well, so it appeared that things turned out fine." Kenya blurted, "Whoa, Mr. Tempest is here?" Now Kenya and Ryota noticed me, lagging a little behind the girls. They were drowned out by the other children. One child shouted, "Wow, wow, 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 Mr. Tempest!" Another cried, "It's really him, whoa!" A third was already thinking of home. "Wait till I tell Dad back home." It was a big event causing such a clamor that now the other teachers were coming in to see what was up. One teacher stammered, "My lord? You should have let me know in advance. I would have guided you around." The vice principal objected. "Are you kidding me? I'm the vice principal. If anyone's giving Sir Rimuru a tour, it's me." The principal refused to give way. "Nonsense. Sir Rimuru named me the principal, and this is one responsibility I'll never palm off on my staff." Another big furor. These teachers were mainly retired adventurers, along with a few merchants Mule Mill recruited from Bloomend. We paid them a monthly salary. Our principal was one of the elders from the goblin villages. He was no good as a teacher, but he was great at settling disputes fast, and I wanted him to keep an eye on the kids and ensure the monster students weren't being ostracized. The rest of the staff was all human, including a paladin we brought on as a special lecturer, and Hinata stopped in to look after Kenya and the others when she was free. It all seemed to be going well, really. The paladin looked out of his comfort zone at first, but now he was instructing our monster and human students as equals, with no prejudice involved. That was a huge help. I explained. "Yeah, call today a kind of stealth meeting. I had some business with Kenya's class." One of the staff answered. "Oh, is that the case? Well, I hope you'll be interested in sitting in on a class next time." Another teacher added, "Indeed, just let us know a date and time and we'll show you a perfect class." The teachers and students all nodded at one another. But hang on, what did he mean, a perfect class? I didn't need them putting on an act for me. What was the point? Fritz stepped in to stop the escalation. Whoa, don't put Sir Rimuru on the spot." This chaos would have continued a while longer were it not for Fritz, the paladin in charge of my class today. Having a captain of the Crusaders preside over a class is pretty amazing in itself, I thought. I asked, "You're teaching today, Captain Fritz?" Fritz laughed it off. "Aw, Sir Rimuru, no need for that captain stuff, just Fritz is fine." I replied, "Oh, then you can drop the Sir stuff with me, Fritz." Fritz shook his head. "I could hardly do that. Humor me with that much, if you wouldn't mind. I might get dirty looks." Fritz smiled at me. He struck me as the last person to care about honorifics like that. But not even he could get that informal. And neither could I, really. Calling the heads of other states by their first names would be pretty stupid unless I was a real big shot. I understood what he meant. Yeah, if we were alone, sure. But not in a place like this, huh? Fritz smiled, winked, and said, "Thanks for understanding." Getting winked at by a man wasn't all that gratifying to me, but I did like his approach. I added, "But anyway, thanks for helping around this school." Fritz grinned. "Oh, stop! Compared with Lady Hinata's harsh training, it's like heaven around here. There's free food. The children respect me. People in our group are fighting for this job, let me tell you." I see. Not sure I really wanted to know about that. I appreciated how Fritz was being upfront with me, but I didn't want to adopt his knack for creating awkward scenes, especially given that my magic sense had just picked up something.
Hinata's cold voice cut across the room. "Oh? Well, that's good, Fritz. My harsh training, huh? With your talents, I thought I was going easy, but maybe I shouldn't have bothered."
The cold voice was pointed straight at Fritz as Hinata appeared. A wave of anxiety coursed across the room as both the children and the grown-ups stood up straight and froze. Even the faculty did, which I didn't know whether to laugh at or be concerned about. Fritz, of course, had it the worst. Fritz instantly panicked. Lady Hinata? You misunderstand me. It was just a figure of speech, you could say." He tried to defend himself, in vain, I thought. This is exactly why situational awareness was so important. I prayed for his future happiness as I promptly hightailed it out of there. We moved into the labyrinth. Hinata was here now, so I also took along the 5 kids and Kumara. Fritz, well, let's not talk about him.
Hakuro greeted us with a calm smile. "I've been expecting you, Sir Rimuru, and you as well, Lady Hinata."
Hinata greeted him warmly. "Ah, it's the elder himself. Glad to see you're well."
We were greeted by Hakuro, who apparently had kindled a friendship with Hinata at some point. They were both smiling as they greeted each other. I said to Hakuro, "Sorry to make you take time out of your busy schedule."
Hakuro waved off my apology. "Oh, it's perfectly fine. We've taken care of all our major problems for the moment."
Hinata asked Hakuro, "You did? Did you figure out who you'll send to the council?"
I answered yes. Diablo attracted some new talent to our group. She's been named Testarossa, and I'll be glad to introduce you next time.
Hinata paused over the wording. "She's been named?" There's a lot I want to say about that, but we don't have any time to waste, so I'll hold my tongue.
I could only answer, sorry?
Hinata let out the complaint anyway. "It's fine. I already know how much you're lacking in common sense. Asking for more details will just give me another headache."
She may have been whining a little, but pretending not to hear what Hakuro just said was probably the best thing for her, yes.
Hinata moved us back to the point. "Anyway, I'm here today because I wanted to show you how these kids were progressing. I've been teaching them alongside Sir Hakuro, but I want you to see what they're capable of too."
Not sure how I felt about that, but let's play along. I asked, "If you're phrasing it like that, I guess they've kind of grown?"
Hinata grinned at me. "Kind of is one way to put it. Once you see them in action, you'll get it. This labyrinth is so useful, isn't it? You can fight at full blast without worrying about dying."
Hinata grinned, projecting as scary an image as always. She always had this streak of intimidation that bordered on the sadistic. I suggested, "All right, how about I summon some replicants to take them on?" With some choice jiggles, I spat a body out of me. This was a human-shaped clone, me remaining in my original slime self. Kenya lit up. "All right, it's been ages since we fought Mr. Tempest." Alice sounded just as eager. "This is so great. Now he can see just how much I've grown." Kenya and Alice, the 2 main fighters of the crew, gleefully took positions in the front row. Next to them, the more taciturn Gail was doing a few quick stretches while Ryota, despite his usual reluctance, was looking just as excited. If he wasn't trying to run away, he must have had some confidence at least. And as for Chloe and Kumara, the last 2, Chloe volunteered. "I'll head out front first." Kumara protested. "Huh? But I want to fight Mr. Tempest too." They were just as enthusiastic. I offered the format. "All rarin' to go, huh? I can take you all on at once, but how about we try some one-on-one battles?" Everyone smiled at me, excited to battle, and I certainly didn't mind humoring them now and then. With that ill-advised optimism in mind, we began the mock fight. An hour later, my shocked voice echoed across the labyrinth. You've gotten way too strong, guys. Kenya was clearly stronger than a rank-and-file paladin. He formed a perfect combination with the light elemental spirit inside him, unleashing a litany of sword moves from his weird manga-like stance. Ryota wasn't as good as Kenya with a blade, but with his mix of water and wind spirit magic, he demonstrated a nimble skill with battle. Gail was a steady presence in the fight, focused on defense and careful movement, and he handled his sword and shield well. He also had good control over earth-based spirit magic, making him a bit like fighting an iron wall. Thus, the boys were surprising enough, but the girls were even more amazing. Now I could see why Alice was nicknamed the Empress. I don't know where she was taking them out from, but she now had several dolls of magisteel that resembled Beretta and seemed almost alive as they lunged at me. She was every bit the golem master she was, and she wasn't messing around with toy dolls today. If she faced anyone besides me, they'd be in real trouble. But in addition to that, Alice had a finisher move where she willed a huge number of swords into the air and doggedly sent them flying my way. That was a surprise. Their paths were irregular and hard to predict. Without my predict future attack skill, I might have been run through several times. Another few years and she could probably be an even match for a paladin captain. As for Kumara called to the others. Okay guys, time to show Sir Rimuru what we're made of. With that shout, she released her full force, 9 tails shimmering behind her cutesy figure. The next moment, each tail transformed into a magical beast. I kind of anticipated this, but still, having 8 beasts to deal with at once was a surprise. Even 2 of those beasts boasted a lot of strength. I could see why Clayman treated them as a kind of last resort, and now there were 8 of them. The 9th one was apparently associated with Kumara herself, while the other 8 were all magical beasts. Each one was over A in rank, so not even your average paladin stood a chance. And they all shared in one another's battle experience, so they worked well as a team. At this point, I think they could possibly beat Fritz, making Kumara a little girl with the power of one of the 10 great saints. It'd be hilarious except for the fact that it was all true. If those beasts gained any more experience, the strength level would just be incomprehensible. A worthy guardian for floor 90 of the labyrinth, no doubt about that. So that brings us to Chloe. Chloe gave a cute little shout. Hee-yah! It was a cute little shout coming from her, but there was nothing cute about how she held a sword. She was faster than Kenya, or really it wasn't even something worth talking about on that level. I fought against 6 adversaries today, but Chloe was the only one I had to get real serious about. Or maybe I'm thinking about it the other way around. If I didn't get serious, then Chloe was now strong enough to be a danger to me. I wouldn't die if I went easy on her, mind you, but I didn't want to look uncool in front of all the kids. As a responsible grown-up, I couldn't embarrass myself around them, so that's why. Don't call it immature, all right? I'll throw all generosity aside if it means protecting what little pride I have.
Hinata understood exactly why I had taken Chloe seriously. I can see why you did that.
Hakuro agreed, as can I. It is only with the young Chloe that I get serious in our mock battles, after all.
Really? So Chloe was now tough enough to challenge Hinata and Hakuro, both above me in skill? It shocked me to the core. This innocent little girl was now making me shudder. Kenya was impressed. No, dude, that was really great. Chloe beamed. Right? Hearing Mr. Tempest say that gets me all pumped up. Alice admitted, yeah, but Chloe totally stole the show today. I mean, you call me the Empress, but I still can't beat her in combat. Gail agreed with the boys. Chloe's on another level. She looks all meek at first glance, but rile her and she's a menace. You're not scary at all when you're mad, Alice, but with Chloe, I'm crying uncle pretty much immediately. Ryota and Gail nodded next to the indignant Alice. The boys all seemed in agreement. I gave Kenya his share of praise too. Kenya's real good too, though. It's just that his stance doesn't really match his skill set. If he worked on his stuff a little more, I think he'd be able to string some good combos together. It was a very manga-like stance, but it wasn't inherently a bad one. It was just a poor fit for traditional swordplay, forcing him to take extra steps throughout his approach. If he could get rid of that, I think he could be stronger.
Hinata sighed. That's the thing. No matter how much I instruct him, he's still sticking with that.
Hinata must have noticed as well. She dejectedly sighed. Kenya defended himself. So what? I learned this stance directly from Masayuki. Huh? Did that fool give Kenya a little uninvited advice? I mean, the stance looked cool and was effective in its own way. But as someone who knows just how powerful he really is, it just seemed so wrong for him. No wonder it looked like something from a fighting manga. Masayuki probably lifted it directly from one series or another.
Hakuro took the practical view. Well, I suppose just telling him won't work. Let's teach him so he gets rid of his bad habits and polishes up his combo strikes some more.
Unlike Hinata, Hakuro wasn't hung up about doing things the standard way. He had a few off-book moves of his own, so if Kenya found this approach effective, Hakuro didn't mind going with that. It wasn't absolutely the wrong thing for him either, so I'll let Hakuro work that out over time. More importantly, I turned the conversation to Chloe. Chloe, your sword moves are exactly like Hinata's, aren't they? Very pretty. A good example for everyone. Chloe smiled brightly at the compliment. Yeah, it's the same as what Ch3 used, so I tried to copy them. I told Chloe, they're not the easiest things in the world to copy, you know. I'm still reliant on skills for them, but you learned them entirely based on your own talents. I think you should be proud of that.
Hakuro added his own praise. Indeed, I've instructed a great many students, but I've never seen so much raw talent from one person. It's nothing short of ominous, in fact.
Hinata and Hakuro were both tough teachers, and they had nothing but praise for Chloe. I guess it really was talent. She was still young, but I couldn't even guess what would happen as she matured. I wasn't sure if I was fearing it or looking forward to it. It turned out, however, that Hinata had some other business today.
Hinata explained her concern. I called you here in part so you could see how these children were progressing. They all have talent, but they're still young. I wanted you to have an accurate gauge of how they are right now, to ensure we don't guide them down the wrong path.
That was always a consideration for me, of course, but I accepted the word of caution. Ch3 had watched these kids after all, so to Hinata, I suppose they were kind of like her own siblings. I promised Hinata, all right, we have a lot of people in town who can guide them, Hakuro included. Me too, for that matter. We'll make sure they don't go down any wayward paths.
Hinata smiled softly. Hee. I thought you'd say that. But just in case, you know.
She was such a worrywart. I loved how kind she really was, despite that cold facade she always put up. As the kids all play-fought against Hakuro, I turned to Hinata. So did you have some other reason to be here today?
Hinata answered. Yes. In fact, it's the main reason.
She stopped there, eyes turned toward the children. Even Hakuro had trouble dealing with 5 of those kids at once. He could keep up with their moves, yes, but if he delayed his reactions for even an instant, he'd suffer a lethal blow. In terms of pure physical talent, someone like Kenya was easily above him. He couldn't let his guard down for a moment. Kumara, by the way, wasn't participating in this. If she really wanted to fight, she'd overwhelm Hakuro with pure numbers. But even without her, Chloe gave the kids a decisive advantage, so I thought this was a good pairing. It was, in a way, a grand demonstration of fighting skills, one boundlessly entertaining to watch.
Hinata watched Chloe. Isn't that amazing? Especially at her age.
She was looking at Chloe. The other 4, Kenya, Ryota, Gail, and Alice, were all impressive enough in their own right, but Chloe was simply extraordinary. Without her, Hakuro could easily wrap up this battle without breaking a sweat. The mock battle came to an end, all the children panting as Hakuro started giving them advice. If they were fighting this hard every session, I could see why they were advancing so fast.
Hinata finally came back to the reason for her visit. Sorry, I just got caught up watching them. But Lady Luminus, you know, she's pestering me about when we'll hold the music exchange program. I figured she was interested in the idea, but she's even more enthusiastic about it than I thought. So I thought I'd let you know.
That was unexpected. Or to be exact, I had been busy with so many other things that I kind of procrastinated on that proposal. I remembered the proposal. Oh, right, she really liked our recital, didn't she? Well, Baton and the orchestra are still practicing regularly. They've been expanding their repertoire.
Hinata admitted, "Honestly, I'm amazed you remembered all those songs. I can't read sheet music or anything, so writing down the songs in my head just seems impossible to me."
Wow, so Hinata actually admits to being bad at something. She didn't seem too enthused about the concert either. Maybe she was tone deaf. A feeling of superiority washed over me even though I was wholly reliant on Raphael for that stuff. I decided, well, maybe we ought to stop by soon then.
Hinata offered a solution. "Yeah, transporting your musicians might be a pain though. We could send over a few paladins and transport them via a warp portal, a few people at a time."
I told Hinata I'd appreciate that, thank you. It's a big orchestra and they have a lot of bulky instruments with them. A wagon caravan didn't seem practical to me. Lubelius, if I recall, was protected by a large barrier that prevented anyone from teleporting directly in. We'd need some other kind of rapid transport. A train system would instantly solve this problem, but that was for the future. No point pining for it right now. Plus, of course, this wasn't just about transporting the musicians. They all had their own instruments, which really complicated matters. If we used horse-drawn carriages, they'd have to traverse a highway that's not even completed yet, and traveling down unfinished roads could lead to bumpy patches and broken gear, so I'd like to avoid that if I could. I was really starting to envy the dragon airships the Emperor of Thalion used. A train trip would be fun enough, but if you really wanted to cut down travel times, air was the only way to go. Land and sea were your best bet for transporting goods. But for recreational and other travel, a plane flight was always the fastest and easiest way. Thus, I appreciated Hinata's offer. I'd be helping as well, of course, so we began to make plans for the big travel day. As we went over all the details, the resting children gathered around us. Chloe asked, "Are you going somewhere with Miss Hinata, Mr. Tempest?" Ugh. I explained to Chloe that we were holding a music concert in Lubelius. Chloe immediately pleaded, "I want to go too!" Alice joined in. "Me too!" Kenya tried to sound casual about it. I'd probably fall asleep during it, but if Chloe and Alice are coming, so am I. Ryota added, "And me." Gail sighed and joined them. "Guess I'll join you then. If I let them go alone, no telling what they'll do." Chloe led the fray as they all clamored to come along. What to do? I supposed it'd help broaden their horizons and all that, but I couldn't guarantee that it'd be completely safe. Kumara looked up at me as I pondered this. Kumara asked timidly, I want to go too." Being the guardian of Floor 90, she had a job to attend to, but she just looked so forlorn to me as she asked. Maybe the logical part of her brain told her this wasn't doable. But it's totally natural for a kid to want to join her friends on a trip, and I wasn't in the habit of turning that down. I reassured Kumara. There's no need to be so hesitant. Don't be afraid to say what you want. I'll indulge you at least a little bit. I didn't want her turning out like Milim, but it wouldn't do for her to lose her childlike charms either. I patted Kumara on the head as I spoke. It felt just as soft and fuzzy as she was in fox cub form. I suppose the kind of warmth it gave you was something that transcended boundaries between monsters and people. Although Kumara was in human form here, so maybe I'm just thinking nonsense. Kenya cheered. "Woohoo! And no school while we're on the road, too." Alice asked him, "Why do you want out of school so bad, Ken? You have fun in there." Kenya explained his logic. "What are you, stupid? School's fun, yeah, but getting to play around while everyone else is in class, it makes you feel special, you know?" Alice admitted, "I get what you mean. I don't want people to think I'm like you, but I'm kinda excited too." Kenya agreed, "Right? That sort of thing?" I had yet to say yes to anyone, but the kids were already mentally packing their bags and openly talking about cutting school. I get it, I really do, but I never tried doing that when I was a kid. I finally gave in. Fine, but you'll have extra homework to do while you're out, all right? Kenya groaned. Huh? Come on, Mr. Tempest. I ignored Kenya's protests. He needed to learn early on that you can't always get everything you want. Life can often be unfair, so this was my way of toughening him up. Call it a rare parental gesture from me. I wasn't harassing or punishing them at all, so hopefully they would understand. Chloe, the original instigator, grinned at me. I'm just happy being with you, Mr. Tempest. Well, whatever. It'll make for some good memories.
Hinata observed. You're so easy on them.
I frowned at Hinata and asked, "Oh, are you against it, Hinata?"
Hinata answered, I didn't say that.
She looked peeved but put up no more opposition. We're good then, so now we had our basic plan ready. A tandem music concert in Lubelius, a team of musicians headed over there, and a bunch of kids joining the fray. And here we were, the holy empire of Lubelius. Already the kids were agape at the exotic sight of Lubelius's city streets. Batoon and the musicians, meanwhile, were tensed up, unable to stay at ease. Diablo was with me as my secretary, as well as Shion. I had her stay home during my last trip, so she got to come along this time. Instead, Veldora was watching over things in Tempest. I reminded him of his vital position as Labyrinth Master, which kept him from getting any funny ideas. Really, Veldora could go to pretty much any nation besides this one. He and Luminus in the same place was just far too dangerous.
Report. The chances of a problem occurring are 100%.
You couldn't spell it out more clearly than that. If there's a big mine in the ground in front of you, you're not gonna march straight for it.
Hinata guided us in and casually told everyone, Welcome to Lubelius. The Holy Emperor himself will be greeting you shortly.
She was talking about Louis, and I had insider knowledge, of course, that he was only playing the role of Lubelius's leader. Batine and the others, however, didn't. It was classified information, and I told the kids to keep mum about it around the orchestra.
Hinata laid out the schedule. So tonight there's going to be a dinner party to formally greet all of you. Tomorrow we'll be tuning things at the concert hall, and we're slated to begin rehearsals the day after that. The show's scheduled for 3 days from now. Does all of that sound good to you?
I checked with our conductor. What do you think, Batten? Batten answered nervously, but with preparation behind him. Yes, Sir Rimuru. I think that will be fine. Everything's been magically transported here already, and I believe it all made the trip safely. We'll need to adjust our setup for the concert hall's size, but I understand they have an orchestra of their own, so I don't anticipate any issues. Sounds good to me. I pressed him. You sure though? You're only getting 1 day for rehearsals. Batten laughed with surprising confidence. Ha ha ha! Here in Lubelius, yes, but we've never missed a day preparing for an event like this back at home. We'll all work as one to answer the call. Great then. If he was that confident about this, I was sure their extended efforts would pay off. Talent really can beat hard work sometimes, but then again, hard work is never gonna betray you. It connects to confidence, giving you the internal strength you need to express your full skills in any situation. Keep up a regular effort, and you'll truly start believing in yourself. I internally gave Baton's response an A+ as I nodded at him. If he was that confident, I felt safe expecting big things from them. That night, his orchestra received the royal treatment from the nobility. For the most part, it made them more nervous and awkward than ever. Baton later pulled me aside, still nervous about the treatment they were receiving. Sir Rimuru? We're just regular citizens of Tempest, you know. Is it really all right to be afforded rooms like these? We were traveling with over 100 people, and they were all given their own room to stay in, each with a maid on standby in an adjacent chamber so you could call them in at any time. There was even a salon on the level of a 4-star hotel spa, available completely for free. Batten and his musicians hardly knew what to do with themselves. The dinner party was just as swank, featuring a cavalcade of bite-sized courses served on top of a small spoon, a feast for the eyes and the palate. Each course was small but carefully seasoned and designed to keep your attention. Everyone loved them. Kenya and the kids acted like it wouldn't be enough for them at first, but by the end of the banquet they were all rubbing their full bellies. As a slime, I had a de facto bottomless stomach, but theirs were beholden to the laws of physics. Stack up enough tiny courses like this and you'd still have trouble eating them all. Unlike these innocent kids, though, our orchestra had mixed feelings. Tempest was full of culinary delights of its own, but you weren't going to see intricate masterpieces meant for kings and princes like this. They'd never had anything like it, and they certainly had not enjoyed this level of service before. I could tell them not to be nervous, but it was an impossible ask. I encouraged him. Don't worry about it. It just shows how much they're looking forward to your performance, I'm sure. At times like this, I took solace in the fact that I wasn't doing the performing. I didn't need to go up there and sing, as it were, for my supper. If I were in the same position as Batten, I'd probably be too anxious to eat anything. Talk about a wasted opportunity. So I encouraged our band to enjoy themselves more as the dinner party went on.
Route confirmed. The next episode and full playlist are ready.
Then don't stop here. Keep watching in story order and subscribe before the next part drops.